Lie on your back with your legs bent over a chair or an object that allows you to get a 90-degree angle bend at your knees and your hips. Make sure that your ankles are not higher or lower than your knees at any point in this position. The object must allow you to relax your legs completely so you don't have to use any of your own muscles to keep your legs in one position. If you notice that your knees are falling out apart from each other, you can place a strap around them that will allow them to relax into the strap so they don't fall outward. Make sure that the strap doesn't have any kind of elasticity to it so that it presses in against your knees. You're going to place your arms out to your sides at a 45-degree angle from your body with your palms face up. Allow your lower back, hips, and shoulders to settle into the floor on their own. Balance and symmetry check. Pay attention to how your back, your hips, and your shoulders feel as they're lying against the floor. Do you notice that one side of your hips or other parts of your backs or shoulders is touching the ground or heavier into the ground more on one side than on the other? Take notes of any of these differences that are on one side of the body versus the other. They should settle down and become more symmetrical by the end of this position. You also have the ability to lie in this position for anywhere up to 10 to 15 minutes if you notice that you don't settle completely into the position. But it's not necessary to go longer than 10 or 15 minutes. Lie on your back with both legs straight out on the floor in front of you. Bring your arms out to your sides so that the palms are face up and the arms are at a 45-degree angle from the body. Take one leg and bring it up towards your chest, interlacing the fingers under the knee. Make sure the shin stays parallel to the ground at all times and the foot doesn't move up higher or lower. The straight leg should have the foot pointed straight up towards the ceiling and the quad or upper thigh muscle relaxed. With the foot of the bent leg, you're going to make outward circles in a direction away from your body. Make sure that the foot and the ankle are moving, but the shin and the knee are not moving at all. Once you've completed the recommended number of repetitions, you're going to make inward circles the direction of the center of your body. Again, make as full of circles as possible, not moving the shin or the knee. Once you've completed the recommended number of repetitions, you're then going to point your foot away from you and flex it back towards you. Keep your stomach muscles relaxed the entire time. Your shoulders should also be relaxed and against the floor. Once you've finished with the point and flexing, you're then going to switch legs and repeat the entire movement on the other side. Balance and symmetry check. Take notes of the differences between how one ankle and foot moves compared to the other. You'll notice all kinds of asymmetries between the differences of one foot to the other. And of course, as you develop better function, this should become more symmetrical over time. Lie on your back with one knee bent and the other leg straight out in front of you on the floor. Your arms should be out to your sides at a 45-degree angle from your body with your palms face up. Tighten the muscles in the upper thigh, the quads of the straight leg, and flex the foot and the toes back towards you. You want to make sure that the outside edge of that foot is pulled back towards you as well, keeping the quad, the muscle of the upper thigh, as tight as you possibly can and flexed, and pulling the foot back as much as you can. You're going to rotate that straight leg in and out with the movement coming from the hip socket. As you're rolling the leg, you want to make sure that your ankle does not move independently of the leg. For example, when you roll the leg in, you'll notice that your ankle wants to cave in and the outside edge of your foot rolls away from you. You must keep that outside edge of your foot pulled back towards you the entire duration of that rotation. You're going to rotate that leg in and out for the recommended number of repetitions, keeping the upper thigh muscle as tight as possible, and then you're going to switch sides. Make sure that you're keeping the upper body as relaxed as possible. You shouldn't be using any other muscles, such as the glutes, to help with the rotation. Balance and symmetry check. Pay attention to the difference between how the muscles feel as you're going through the rotation from one leg to the other. You might notice that it's easier to flex and hold the quad or the upper thigh tight in one leg than the other leg. You might also notice there's a difference in the ankles and how they feel from one to the other as you're trying to pull them back towards you. Take notes on your findings and recognize that these are asymmetries and they should even out over time. Lie on your back with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor pointed straight ahead. Put a block or a pillow between your knees and maintain a constant inward pressure on the block or the pillow throughout the position. Make sure that the block or the pillow is between 4 to 6 inches in diameter and it's firm, so when you press into it, it doesn't actually have any give. Place your elbows straight out to your sides where your elbows are just about at shoulder height. You're going to bend your arms so that your hands go up towards the ceiling and you now have a 90-degree angle at the elbows and at the shoulders. Squeeze or glide your shoulder blades together gently and then relax. In order to help you with this movement, you can press your elbows lightly into the ground every time you glide your shoulder blades together. You should only be doing this movement using about half of your strength. Balance and symmetry check. Take notes and pay attention to the differences in how one shoulder blade moves versus the other. Do you notice other parts of your back that are affected every time you do the press? Do you find it easy or difficult to get your shoulder blades to glide back together? As always, these are asymmetries showing up and should even out over time. Lie on your back with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor, hip width apart, parallel and pointed straight ahead. Place your arms out to your sides, in line with your shoulders and your palms face down. Cross the ankle of one leg over to the opposite knee. Once the ankle is on the knee, you're going to allow your hips to twist and fall towards the floor so that the knee and the bottom of the foot come in contact with the floor. If you can't get all the way to the floor, you can place something similar to a block or a pillow that will raise the floor up a little higher until your feet can rest on that. Keep your palms flat against the floor, and as you're rotating one direction, you're going to look in the opposite direction. Once your legs have hit the ground or the supported surface, you're going to press the knee outward away from you using the muscles on the outside of that hip. Hold this position. Make sure that you're breathing deeply through your stomach as you're holding this position. As you take a deep breath in, allow your stomach and your sides to expand. When you breathe out, let your stomach and your sides contract inward. Once you've held for the recommended amount of time, you're going to come out of this position in the exact same manner that you went into this position by twisting the hips back up. Then, place your feet back on the floor. Make sure that you have reset yourself and your feet are hip width apart again before you cross the opposite ankle over and do the other side. Balance and symmetry check. Do you notice a difference with how far one side goes compared to the other? Do you notice a difference in the muscles that are working in one leg versus the other when you're doing the actual pressing out of the knee? You might feel torque or tension in other parts of your body, such as your back, as you're going through the rotation. All these things are asymmetries and should even out over time. Lie on your back with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor, parallel and pointed straight ahead. Your arms should be placed out to the side at a 45-degree angle from your body with your palms face up. Using the muscles in your hips, you're going to roll your pelvis backwards to flatten your lower back on the floor, and then tip your pelvis forward to create an arch in your lower back. You're going to move between these 2 points, attempting just to tilt the pelvis back and forward. As you tip the pelvis forward to create an arch in your back, use the muscles in the front of your hips and your back to create that arch. As you're tucking the pelvis underneath, flattening the back to the floor, Use the muscles of your glutes and your abdominals. As you're tucking the pelvis, try to be very light on the feet and don't push your feet into the ground. Do this controlled and slow, trying to get as much range of motion as you can without activating or using any of the rest of the body. Balance and symmetry check. Do you feel muscles working on one side that are not working on the other? Do you have any kind of twinges or pains or discomfort in one part of your back or one part of your body that's not on the other side? As your pelvis learns how to create this movement and your body becomes more balanced, this should become more symmetrical with this movement and the pain should reduce. Place the bottom soles of the feet together and allow your knees to relax and drop out to the sides. At first, try to keep your feet as close to your hips as possible. If they start to slide away from you, just allow them to go wherever they comfortably slide to and then leave them there. Your knees are going to drop out to the sides and everything in your body should be relaxed. As your knees drop out to the sides, you might notice that there is an arch, a slight arch, in your lower back. That is okay. Your arms should be just out to your sides with your palms face up at a 45-degree angle from your body. Relax completely in this position for the recommended amount of time. Balance and symmetry check. Do you notice a difference in how far one leg moves than the other? Is one knee closer to the floor than the other? You might feel a stretch or some kind of sensation in the muscles of the hip on one leg that's different than the ones on the other. Of course, these are asymmetries showing up and should even out over time. For this position, you need to get 2 towels. Take the towels and roll them up so that you have 2 cylinders. While you're lying on the floor in this position, you're going to place one towel under the lower back, just below your belly button, and the other towel under your neck. The size of the towels should be large enough to where they can push into your body just slightly. You're going to take one leg and drape it up on top of a chair or some object that can put your leg at a 90-degree angle at the knee and the hip. Completely relax that leg. With the other leg, you're going to stick it straight out in front of you. You're going to place an object that is heavy enough to where you can let your foot relax into it and it won't move the object. Place the object just about at the ankle so that your ankle bone and your foot is touching it. You want to be able to relax this leg and have it point straight up at the ceiling. Make sure that the leg is not out further than your hip. You can also use a wall or a piece of furniture to rest your foot on. Completely relax in this position for the recommended amount of time. Then switch sides. Place your back against a wall and keep your feet and knees about 6 inches apart. From here, you're going to walk away from the wall until you can allow yourself to slide down and put yourself in a seated position where you are about just over a 90-degree angle at the hips as well as the knees. The goal here is to have your mid-back, lower back, and hips completely flush against the wall. It's almost as though you're going to have a small slouch in your back and your posture in order to make this happen. Your head and shoulders will slightly come off the wall. Keep all of the pressure in your heels, relax your stomach, put your palms face up on your lap, and make sure that you do not use your upper body or shoulders at any point in this position. Keeping the pressure in your heels, you're going to hold this for the recommended amount of time. If you feel like a lot of the work is going into your knees, you can come up slightly until you don't feel the work in your knees anymore. You should feel the work in the upper thigh muscles, the quadriceps. Balance and symmetry check. Do you feel like both legs are working evenly, or do you feel like one leg is pushing into the ground or the wall more than the other? Take note in how even it feels where your back and hips are up against the wall. You might feel like it's not symmetrical from left to right, like certain parts of your back or your hips are touching the wall more than other parts. One thing that you can do if this is happening is to place a yoga block or some type of firm pillow between your knees where you're not necessarily going to squeeze it, but allow your knees to press into it, just enough to hold it, and see if that makes things even out. Over time, it should even out as things become more symmetrical.